While overall it may not be on the same level as its comic book counterpart, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is still home to an ever-growing number of incredibly powerful characters, including Thanos, Doctor Strange, the Hulk, and many, many more. But even with characters capable of building machines that can withstand blasts from an Infinity Stone and apparently move planets around in the MCU, easily one of the toughest heroes in the universe so far is everybody's favorite Lord of Thunder from Asgard?
Asgard!
Yeah, that one. Anyways, it's the mighty Thor. Yeah, it may not seem like it at first, what with his getting his ass kicked by pretty much everybody in a one-on-one fight so far, but he actually has a ton of pretty impressive showings. I mean, we've seen him fight evenly with the Hulk and crush Iron Man's armor with his bare hands, move fast enough to still be seen moving by Quicksilver while he's running around, and even withstand a prolonged blast from a neutron star. Holy hell, how powerful is this guy? Well, let's take a look and find out. First, let's take a look at his strength. Now, we actually do get to see Thor's superhuman strength throughout the MCU multiple times, like that time in the first Avengers, when we saw him easily tossing Iron Man around like he was nothing. According to Shane Mahan, co-owner of Legacy Effects and one of the original designers of the MCU Iron Man suit, the armors were designed with the idea that they weighed upwards of 800 pounds. Adding in Tony's canon weight of 185 pounds, according to a deleted scene anyway, this means that Thor's capable of lifting, bare minimum, about 985 pounds, or about 446 kilograms, or about half a ton. Skipping up to the sequel, Age of Ultron, we saw the God of Thunder catch and carry a falling car back up to bridge level. According to the Internet Movie Car Database, the one used in this shot is a 1996 Lancia Ypsilon 840, which has a curb weight of about 2,061 pounds, or 935 kilograms, or about 1 ton. But whatever, lifting Iron Man and cars? That's easy stuff for somebody like Thor. Let's take a look at something a little bit more impressive. Remember that time in Thor Ragnarok when he managed to bust out of some metal chains before kicking Surtur's ass? Comparing these chains to the high-end minimum breaking point of stainless steel chains, a fair comparison I think, since we later saw that these things were able to hold back one of those dragon looking things, then that means these chains could resist forces of about 93,000 pounds. Multiplying that by what looks like 7 loops wrapped around Thor's arms, then that means the force Thor would have had to exert to break free would have equaled 651,000 pounds, or about 295,288 kilograms, or about 325 tons. And he clearly did it super casually since he started fighting huge amounts of fire demons and Surtur himself immediately after breaking free. However, he technically has way more power than this via his new weapon Stormbreaker. Remember how Thor was able to use it to open the Bifrost towards the end of Infinity War? We know that the Bifrost has the potential to destroy planets if left open long enough, as mentioned by Heimdall towards the beginning of the first Thor movie.
Couldn't you just leave the bridge open for us?
Leave the bridge open would unleash the full power of the Bifrost and destroy Jotunheim with you upon it.
And nearly demonstrated by Loki when he tried to use it to destroy Jotunheim. Now you could argue that Thor maybe can't leave the Bifrost open long enough to destroy a planet, but at the same time, he clearly has full control over how long the bridge is open for, since he was able to keep it open longer than almost any other time it's been open on screen, long enough to use Stormbreaker to smack a couple Outriders. So arguably, you could say Thor has the potential to generate the 53 quadrillion megatons necessary to destroy the Earth, but that depends on how much credit you want to give him versus his equipment. Now having said all that, I'm sure some of you guys are like, hey, don't forget that time he destroyed Sokovia in Age of Ultron, and that other time he managed to cut through a blast from the Infinity Gauntlet in Infinity War, so he clearly has to be way stronger than what you're talking about here, right? Well, about that. Yeah, it's true that Thor helped destroy Sokovia, but remember what all Tony and his new AI Friday were talking about before destroying the city?
All sparse vibranium. If I get Thor to hit it,
it'll crack. That's not enough.
I don't know about you guys, but to me, this basically sounds like Thor could only crack the vibranium core of Ultron's big-ass machine, and that something else, in this case Iron Man, would have to keep the energy from the hit contained and amplified in the pillar to destroy the city. So, in short, this version of Thor can't destroy a city on his own. And as far as the gauntlet thing goes, I'm gonna have to disagree with that one too. I mean, just look at Thanos in this scene. He just finished the gauntlet and barely managed to keep all that power safely contained in his body, and here comes this pissed off Australian Norse dude hitting him with a bunch of shit. All Thor did was catch Thanos off guard, that's it. He wasn't even using the gauntlet at full power to stop Stormbreaker. If he did, Thor wouldn't have even had the chance to drop his one-liner, he would have just been dead. And even if you don't agree with me, even the Russos themselves, during a Q&A last year, said that Stormbreaker isn't more powerful than a fully completed Infinity Gauntlet.
I think that key moment, though, is just Thanos was caught off guard. He literally just didn't know the power of what was coming at him. I mean, maybe he could have used the stones to, in another way, had he understood what that weapon was, but it came out of nowhere.
If that's not proof enough, then I don't know what is. Anyways, moving on, now let's take a look at Thor's speed. Despite what the movies might make you think, he actually does have some pretty impressive speed feats throughout the MCU. Like that time he and Ultron were the only ones still moving while Quicksilver was running around, and how he managed to react to one of Vision's Mind Stone blasts in Age of Ultron, or that time in Thor Ragnarok when we saw him creating a Mach cone while being chased by one of Surtur's weird dragon looking things. So we know he can go faster than sound if he wants to, at least. But how much faster exactly? Well, there was that one time in Thor the Dark World when, during the final fight against Malekith, we saw Thor's old hammer Mjolnir fly from the surface of the Earth to outer space in record time. Holy shit! But how fast is that? Well, I counted that it took about 2 seconds or so to officially leave Earth, and even if we lowball this and say that Mjolnir only passed the Kármán line, the quote-unquote official boundary between Earth and outer space, which sits 62 miles or 100 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, then that still means Mjolnir managed to reach speeds of 111,600 miles an hour, or about 179,602 kilometers an hour, or about Mach 145. That's a little over 3 times faster than you'd need to be to escape the solar system from Earth. Now I know we never actually see Thor going this fast, but it's not like there's anything saying he couldn't if he wanted to. He'd just have to toss Mjolnir and hold on for dear life.
I used to spin it really fast, and it would pull me off.
Oh my god, Emma pulled you off.
Technically, you could argue that he'd be way faster than the speed of light now that he has instant access to the Bifrost via Stormbreaker, but like with his strength, it all depends on how much credit you want to give him instead of his equipment. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't exactly say somebody can walk as fast as a plane when they get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the flight, you know what I'm saying? And finally, let's take a look at the most impressive thing about the MCU version of Thor so far, his durability. I mean, this dude is tough. We've seen him take hits from Malekith when he was using an Infinity Stone, Ultron, Thanos, and the Hulk, somebody who I calculated could hit with almost 3,000 tons of force in case you forgot. Hell, he even survived being partially held outside of the Bifrost during his first fight with Hela in Ragnarok, and we all know how dangerous that is. But easily his best durability feat was that time in Avengers Infinity War when he managed to tank the full force of a neutron star while melting Uru for Stormbreaker. Well, that's what Thor called it anyway.
Nidavelir's forge harnesses the blazing power of the neutron star.
Anybody else notice that literally nobody else in the MCU ever specifically called it a neutron star?
Forged in the heart of a dying star.
It was made from this special metal from the heart of a dying star.
You understand, boy? You're about to take the full force of a star.
Let's just put a number on this anyway. To figure out how much energy Thor was able to withstand, we'll first need to know Nidavelir's total power output. We can calculate this by multiplying its surface area times a constant times its temperature in Kelvin to the 4th power. So with all of that in mind, let's first figure out the surface area of Nidavellir, which we can work out by comparing it to the beam of energy it shoots out after Thor starts working this mechanism. Using Thor himself as a ruler, we can see that the mechanism he's standing in is about 2 Thors long. I know Chris Hemsworth's 6'3", but since he's kind of slouching a little bit, let's just say he's measuring out around 6 foot here. This would mean the mechanism Thor's standing in has a width of about 12 feet or about 3.6 meters. Comparing this ring from the outside of the mechanism to the mechanism itself, we can see that the diameter of the beam would be about 48 feet or about 14 meters. And now that we know that, we can finally go back to this shot and measure Nidavellir with the beam of energy. Doing so tells us that it has a diameter of about 4,944 feet or about 1,506 meters. And now that we know all that, we can finally see that the surface area of Nidavellir, as it's presented in the movie, would have to be 7,130,000 square meters. Assuming an average 1 million Kelvin temperature for Nidavellir, we can see that its luminosity would equal out to be 402,353,445,552,343 gigawatts. Not anywhere close to our sun's luminosity, but still, it's over 200,000 times more powerful than the most powerful laser on Earth, the one that was fired at Osaka University in Japan back in 2015. So I'd say that's still impressive. Now I know that was a lot of math, but we're not done yet. If we divide the luminosity of Nidavellir by its surface area, then multiply that by Thor's surface area and the amount of time he stood in front of the blast of energy, we can finally calculate how much energy he was able to withstand. First things first, dividing Nidavellir's luminosity by its surface area gives us this, the amount of energy Nidavellir puts out per square meter. And as far as how long Thor was hit with all this energy, I know we heard from Eitri that it would take a few minutes to melt the Uru to forge Stormbreaker.
How long will it take to heat it?
A few minutes, maybe more.
But if we actually count out how long Thor stood there before passing out, we can see that he only managed to withstand all that energy for about 47 seconds. Movie time is weird, guys. Anyways, assuming Thor's back has a surface area of about 1 square meter, we can finally plug everything into our formula, giving us this, and doing the math on that tells us that Thor, while tanking a direct hit from a star, managed to withstand 2 quintillion, 649 quadrillion, 929 trillion, 890 billion joules of energy. Just to give you an idea of how insane that is, the Tsar, largest nuke ever, you guys may have heard of it, had a yield equal to 50 megatons. Thor being able to withstand this kind of blast from Nidavellir is like him surviving about 12 Tsar bombs going off all at the same time. And keep in mind, this is still only scratching the surface of how powerful this version of Thor is. We know he has access to the Megagjord, a magical belt that doubles his strength in the comics.
We just gotta load Tony's old Hulkbuster armor, prototype for Cap's new shield, and Thor's magic belt.
So obviously he can get way stronger than any showing we've seen on screen so far. And even though it may not be as powerful as something like the Infinity Gauntlet, what we've been able to see Stormbreaker do so far still proves that it's a pretty impressive tool. Who knows what kind of power we'll be seeing him bring to the table in a few months. Let's just hope Thanos doesn't bring a snake along with him when he goes up against the Avengers again.
He transformed himself into a snake, and he knows that I love snakes. So I went to pick up the snake to admire it, and he transformed back into himself, and he was like, "Yeah, it's me!" And he stabbed me.
But anyways guys, that's my take on how powerful the MCU Thor is. If you guys agreed with anything I said in this video, or if you have your own calculations you want to throw out there, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then go ahead and click that like button, and if you're new, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button too. I've also got links to my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Patreon in the description. You should probably check those out too. And if you want to see more of my content, then you can click the link to my last video. It's right there in the middle of your screen. Alright, and I will see you all next time.